What's going on, people? This is a marvelous back. It's been a long time. I've been procrastinating with the videos. Haven't really been too enthused to do them, but here we are. Um, Despite the algorithms, we're gonna do our best to go around these algorithms and still bring some, hopefully, content that you enjoy, that you can learn from. Feedback is always welcome, but I think it's something is very necessary. Uh, some of the things that I want to put in the video form because there's a lot of stuff going on that's beyond crazy, beyond wacky, and I think it's just things that people are doing and they're not recognizing that by them doing it, it adds to an overall collective narrative that makes it harder for people to get to the truth and to assess misinformation, to assess lies from things that are facts. So that's one of the things that kind of got me back to doing this, besides people always asking me to go back and do them. So with that said, welcome. Thank you for your attention. Attention is something that you cannot get back like time. So you spending it with me, I greatly appreciate it as usual. Feedback is always welcome. And that's that. So this right here is going to be about, the title is The Pandemic Attack Against the Zodiac Sign Leo. Fat Joe, Tory Lanez, Brother Polight. And I think this is something that's necessary because we are living in a time now, for many reasons, where people jump to conclusions automatically. And they jump to these conclusions based on emotions, based on groupthink, based on just hate, based on laziness. And I say that because the type of jumping out the window that people are making now when it comes to different things is just based on fear, based on personal dislike. And as adults, I don't, especially men, that's just not something I think adults should be doing. When you say something or accuse somebody of something, even if it's personal, to jump out the window with the type of flagrant things I'm hearing on different people is just crazy to me. So I wanted to discuss that topic under the guise of astrology because all of this is astrology, right? Everything is astrology. I've been dealing with astrology since the mid 90s and it's helped change my life. It's helped me deal with a lot of people. And, a lot of times astrology is growing now. Like a lot of people are into it, but it still has that, and it's dying off because more people are embracing it. And as we move into Aquarius, because I don't think we're not in Aquarius yet. We're still in the age of Pisces. A lot of people, because of marketing, think we're in the age of Aquarius, but you still see Pisces symbols all around us. You still see the age of Pisces is still upon us, even though Aquarius is coming in strong. So that's why I wanted to do this type of video about not jumping to conclusions, but through the eyes of symbols and through the eyes of the sign that I think most represents the necessity of truth. Now, there's different signs that deal with truth and things like that, right? You have Sagittarius, you have Libra, right? Symbolically, like these signs are the signs that are dealing with truth, ethics, law, principle, things of that nature. But those are more like dealing with weighing out situations, like in the court of law or things of that nature. But when it comes to things like loyalty, those two signs don't necessarily deal with truth in the aspects of being loyal, right? Because a Libra can weigh out a situation just based upon being equitable and fair. That doesn't mean loyalty. Sometimes you might come across disloyal if you're weighing out the facts and you give an opinion between you and someone else based on the facts presented to you. The person that you didn't really get in favor of based on the facts can still think you're disloyal, which is a Libra thing, right? That's why a lot of times it might seem like Libras just go with face value, but a lot of times that face value is because they're always weighing out things. And in weighing out things, they understand that you have to just go with what you're presented with and not go past that. And Sagittarius is based off principles. And sometimes you can have principles, and sticking to your principles, you might also come off disloyal. So it's very rare that it's looked at as looking at truth from the aspect of being loyal. Because sometimes if you look at truth, if you feel something is true, you're going to stick with that, even if it means that you're not loyal to someone, loyal to a cause, or loyal to a situation. So with that said, I picked Leo and these three individuals, Fat Joe, Tory Lanez, Brother Polight, because these three individuals are Leos. And during this pandemic, all three were in situations that made people automatically jump to conclusions. With Tory Lanez, right, and Megan Thee Stallion, who's an Aquarius, opposing forces, right? A lot of people automatically assume, because of course Megan is a woman, and you know the reports say, oh, Megan Thee Stallion got shot, and Tory Lanez is the one that did it, even though there's no cameras, there's no eyewitnesses, there's no court case yet, there's none of this, but yet people automatically went to he's guilty. So that's one example of how people automatically jump to conclusions because of the scenario. Her being a woman, it seemed like she was automatically the victim. And to question past that, especially if you're a man, it's going to make you look like you're devaluing women. But anytime you're dealing with an accusation, anytime you're dealing with a severe accusation, no matter what, in the eyes of the law, everyone gets their day in court. And part of that court process, right, is discovery, going over the evidence, and things like that. But it seems like during this pandemic, that didn't matter. And the fact that he's a Leo also makes it interesting, because now you have a matter of loyalty, right? What do you do when people that you rock with automatically saying you did something and there's no evidence, and these are people that are close to you? Now you have people that aren't showing their loyalty. And this has been happening with this pandemic for, you know, whatever reasons, the jabby jab. I can't say the mysterious V word before everything gets taken down. But even those lines are divided now. Whether you're for it, whether you're against it. And these things are setting up situations where people are becoming divided. People are becoming disloyal to each other, you know? So that's an attack on Leo, because Leo deals with, it deals with loyalty. It deals with matters of the heart, right? Leo means to destroy and to annihilate. So what's happening now is that you have friendships now that's being annihilated. You have friendships now that's being destroyed. Family ties and family bonds that's being annihilated and destroyed. This Leo principle is attacking people at a high level, because the situations that's happening in this world is becoming stronger than the loyalty that was once there. So anytime, if you look at this pandemic, damn near everything that you was loyal to is now being tested, because the lines are drawn, right? People aren't just going to rock with you on a view if it tears them apart, or if it doesn't go with their core value, like this jabby jab. So this is being played out through our celebrity figures. So if you look at all the Leos, they have been attacked in the same way. Fat Joe is another one. It was said that Fat Joe was a snitch, right? Some alleged paperwork was out there, and people ran with it. People was making videos. People was automatically saying, can it be so? Their minds automatically went to him doing it, to people actually calling up stations and, you know, different shows saying that, yeah, he has a history of that. When after all of the evidence came out, all of that shit was bogus, right? So this is what's going on. This is the name of the game now, right? No evidence, people jumping to conclusions. Everything that's loyal is out the window, because this is saying that this happened. And when it was found out that that wasn't the case, people were looking stupid. And this is what happens when you go against the Leo principle and you lose. Because what makes that worse with Tory Lanez and Fat Joe and people like that is that when you make accusations to these people and you automatically indict them, one thing about Leo is that it's like you're trying to withstand the heat of the sun and saying that you're stronger than the sun. But after a while, if you stand there too long, that heat's going to burn you. Even if you can absorb it with melanin and all that, there's only a certain amount of time in which you can withstand the heat, depending on how much it intensifies. Because there is a such thing as heat index. There is a such thing as staying indoors because it's too humid or the heat is too much. And this is what's happening when people are jumping to conclusions and then they're looking stupid because it's just not the case. And what happened? Fat Joe did his live. He gloated, as he should have. And he wound up rising above the situation and he won even more, right? Yesterday's price is not today's price. And this is what happens when you go up against the sun. If you're going to do that with Leos, you got to have your facts together because this is a sign that will make you feel the heat, pun intended, if you are incorrect because you cannot outshine the sun. And what's happening now when people are jumping to conclusions, they're trying to outshine the sun. And it makes it worse because Leo is a sign of expression. Leo is a sign of being visible. So when Leos are visible, they're braggadocious, right? They are flossers. And the backlash comes is that when you're being indicted and when people are jumping to conclusions against you, it makes it worse when you floss because people want you to be humble. People want you to have humility. But humble and humility, those aren't Leo principles, right? These are Sagittarian principles and things of that nature, right? Capricorn. So people are putting expectations on a principle and sign that's just not natural to them. It's natural for Leo to floss. But what people want to happen is that they want individuals to be humble when they're faced under pressure. They want them to be apologetic. They want them to be submissive. And when these Leos are not doing that, it makes it worse. And it makes people hate more. And people really want them to be guilty. They really want them to suffer. And what happens at the end? Everybody gets burned. These Leos rise on top. And it makes things worse because these people are being who they are. When you see Tory Lanez, when you see Fat Joe, when you see Brother Polight, these individuals are going to talk their shit because that's what they're built for. So there's nobody that can stop them from talking their shit except them. So if they're winning, no matter what comes out that they did, if they're saying they didn't do it and they're standing on that and they're flossing, your odds of outshining them and beating them is next to nothing. And you see that also with Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez came out with banging music after this Megan situation. He set in all type of precedents with his music and NFTs. And he went online, went on his live, and talked his shit. Like, yeah, nobody's doing it like me. I changed the game while he's under this pressure. Right? And he's already mentioned how some people don't even rock with him like that. They used to rock with him. And what happened? He's still winning, right? You're not going to see him publicly feeling ashamed because that's just not how Leos get down. So, again, he's scorching everybody that doubted him. And this is what's happening. This misuse of the Leo principle is being shined during this pandemic. Trying to put people's lights out. Trying to stop people from shining, wanting people to be humble, even though they didn't do it or there's no evidence that they did it. That's just not going to work. And it's showing now during this pandemic. So in your life, even if it's someone that you dislike, right? Don't misuse this Leo principle by trying to put out their shine. If they did something personally to you, then you got to do what you got to do. But in general, you cannot outshine a Leo, and you cannot misuse this Leo energy by jumping to conclusions. So if you're going to accuse somebody of something, or if you're trying to expose somebody, you got to make sure you have your shit together. Because if you don't have your shit together, what's going to happen is it's going to make the person that you're trying to expose stronger, because that's how the Leo principle works. That's how that Leo energy works. The only way you could put out the sun is if you let time show. And time will show whether these people are innocent or guilty. It's already showed with Fat Joe. So the pandemic is really harsh on Leo energy. It's really harsh on Leo energy because loyalty doesn't mean being submissive. Loyalty doesn't mean that you expect someone to crack under pressure if they did something that you didn't like. Loyalty doesn't mean you just stop being loyal to them based on some rumors, right? Loyalty means that you're going to stick with somebody until it's shown and proven that they did something that you feel is less than kosher. Not based on speculation, not based on rumors, not based on he say, she said, but something concrete that you know for sure that they did. If you don't have that, even if you have a suspicion, don't jump out the window until you know for sure. Follow your intuition and follow the trail, but don't jump all the way out that window on anything if you're not sure. And that's what Leo represents. It represents sure, confidence, affirming what's true and what's not true. And even if it's not totally true or you don't have all the facts, you're going to affirm the positive until those facts come out. And that's what needs to happen. And that's what this pandemic is destroying. This pandemic is destroying people's light. It's destroying people's shine. It's destroying people's expression, right? Even all of the censorship that you see is an attack on Leo because it's cracking down on how people express themselves, right? So what happens? You have people, you have Facebook cracking down, you have YouTube cracking down, you have Twitter cracking down, you have Instagram cracking down. These are your top 4 social media platforms, even though YouTube is a hybrid, but all of this crackdown leads what? It leads to things like Clubhouse. And what's Clubhouse? Clubhouse is a strictly Leo type thing. Leo and Gemini all day is Clubhouse energy. And why? Because everybody gets to, and Aquarius, everybody gets to express themselves. All of these mediums deal with Aquarius because that's the polar of Leo. And Aquarius deals with democratization. So you're seeing that all of these social media platforms, they give the power from the few to the individual. But the thing with that is that you're having an adjustment and the power structure is cracking down on all these social media platforms. They're trying to restrict the Aquarius thing. So what happens is the Leo kicks in an app like Clubhouse where everybody's expressing themselves and everybody can set up room and have other people express themselves, which is not something that the other platforms can do because even YouTube is limited based on the capacity of having many people speak. But with Clubhouse, you know, you can go popcorn style and anybody can talk at any given time. Anybody can express themselves. So that's what happens. Clubhouse is an example when you're merging polarities and they're in harmony with each other. Aquarius, and if you want to understand Aquarius and Leo energy, spend time on Clubhouse because it democratizes the individual voice, but it doesn't. The individual voice doesn't get lost like it would in Aquarius because every single person can speak and every single person has an ability to shine, as opposed to Aquarius, the collective shines and the individual is drowned out. With Leo, the individual shines and the collective takes a back seat, even though you have a bunch of people collectively gathering to communicate, right? So this is what you need to do during the pandemic. You need to allow people to talk their shit. You need to allow people to floss. Guilty or not guilty until they're proven to be guilty. If they're not proven to be guilty, then you need to fall back. It's the same thing with Brother Polight. Out of the 3 of them, I think the intensity of the hate might have been worse for Brother Polight because of the charges that he's facing, which is a severe charge. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to mention the charge because I don't even like talking about that subject. I think people that focus on this subject is weird anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because you're dealing with young children, and I never understood people's fascination with discussing that type of sick shit. But there's no evidence that we know of, right? Because he hasn't had his official day in court to have all of these things expressed to show that he's guilty. So I had people mad at me saying, oh, you defending Brother Polight and all that. And I'm like, I don't even know the man. But what I do know is that I base shit off evidence. And if there's no evidence, don't come at me with anything unless you've seen it for yourself. And most times, people ain't see shit for themselves. Just like with this pokey poke. There's nobody that they seen collapse in front of them because of their goddamn lungs. All of that shit is a lie. Just like with this situation, nobody's seen him do anything. And if they did, they probably can't speak about it until the court case comes out. So where's all this guilty shit coming from? I tell you where it's coming from. With Brother Polight, people automatically do the scammer shit, and so they're making their personal feelings automatically indict him on something that's completely unrelated, which is whack. If you're gonna say somebody did something, stick to that one thing and show the evidence for it. If you can't show the evidence for it, then keep your personal shit to yourself, or don't go on this crusade to be lynching people, because that sets a temperament and a tone for society. And what happens is people think that what they do individually doesn't have a society effect. It does, because that's what memes and gifs reflect. They reflect a general attitude or temperament across a given people that we call society. And narratives reflect that. The society narrative is, if, and a lot of this happened during Obama, a lot of this happened with all this Me Too bullshit. If person said guilty because of the type of person, it's automatically guilty. And that's the narrative that's been set ever since Trump got in office, because people want this nostalgia of the previous presidential people that was in office, which is whack. You have to weigh the evidence and you have to weigh things out. Leo principle shows that you have to stay loyal to something until something shows you otherwise. In not doing that, it can cause you to miss out on time that you spent building a relationship with somebody, or a friendship with somebody, or a bond with somebody, that you're willing to throw out the window because of some false narrative that the majority is pushing that you can't prove. And this is what's happening during the pandemic with this Leo energy. It's forcing people to express themselves in the incorrect way, right? And that's what Leos deal with. Expression is no such thing as a wrong expression, but there is a such thing as an incorrect expression if you're dealing with time and if you're dealing with delivery. And the timing and delivery that happened with Fat Joe, that happened with Tory Lanez, that happened with Brother Polight, so far, three out of those three instances, because Brother Polight's still flossing and he's still doing his thing, and people are mad at that. So as it stands in those three examples, nothing has been shown to be true, and they're still flossing. Because these people are staying true to their Leo energy of expressing themselves, being braggadocious, and being confident in who they are, this is what makes them win. You can't beat a Leo that didn't do anything wrong, and you can't beat a Leo that is in his element of talking his shit, period. But this pandemic is trying to do that, and it's trying to do that utilizing groupthink, right? It's trying to use this whole opposite energy of Aquarius to pull people together to say one thing, even if that one thing isn't true. But even that's a misuse of Aquarius, because Aquarius deal with cold logic. And cold logic will dictate that even if you don't like someone, you have to look at the evidence, right? But that's not what's happening. So this whole pandemic, and it's affecting things that are heartfelt, because Leos also deal with the heart. So a lot of things that we're heartfelt about is purely based on irrationality, right? The things that we should be heartfelt on, we're not doing because that takes courage. Another Leo principle, right? It takes courage to keep going with something while you're fearful. That's courage, right? That's dealing with the heart. So a lot of people are showing cowardice during this pandemic because they're not standing up or expressing themselves on things that they feel is not kosher, like with the jabby jab. You got people that's deciding to compromise their safety, right? Allegedly, right? All because they have to keep their job. That's cowardice. You know, you can call it what you want, judgment or whatever, but if it's not how you feel and if it's not something that you want to stand up for, I could only call it for what it is, period. And again, that's a misuse of Leo. Leo deals with courage. Leo deals with matters of the heart. Leo deals with expression. And in doing matters of the heart, expressing yourself is you doing things even when everything is against you, period. And when you do that and then you show confidence, and if you take it to a step further and talk your shit while you do it, the amount of energy that you bring to you is incomparable. You're not even going to be able to explain the type of power that you feel by being able to not only express yourself even when you're scared, even when everybody's against you and all the odds are against you, but taking it to that higher level of talking your shit and not being humble is the proper use of Leo energy if you are in the right. And those that use that energy properly, even if you're not a Leo, you will see in the long run that you will be victorious and that you will win. And you can see that with Tory Lanez. He showed courage during this example. I don't know if he's innocent or guilty, but I know what I know right now, that there's no evidence of that. So he showed courage by doing what he's doing. He kept it moving. He talked his shit, and he raised it by extremely bragging. Got into a beef, stood his ground, and he's winning. Fat Joe had one of the worst accusations you can have, especially being for a street dude, right? Being a snitch. People manufactured paperwork. He was on major platforms, the whole 9 yards. What happened? He went live, addressed the whole thing, even his past enemies, stunned, right? Because yesterday's price is not today's price. Mind you, he's in Hermes, and he had a successful versus, right? And he's winning because he talked his shit after he showed courage, and he did the right thing. Now we're going to see Brother Polight, who already went through one trial. People thought that was going to be the end, and now they got to wait for the next one, and he's talking his shit. He's still doing his thing. It's Leos. So don't let this pandemic attack the Leo principle for you. If you're being accused of something and the odds are against you and the narrative is something that you know you didn't do, don't be humble. Keep doing what you're doing. And on top of that, garner that energy for you and that power and talk your shit and be extremely arrogant about it. Don't let people force you to be humble, to cave into a false narrative about you, just because they say that's what you're supposed to do, right? Bill Cosby did that shit, right? And it comes to find out he got off. So this is a war of narratives. The highest form of beating that narrative, if you are innocent of whatever you're accused of, is to be anti-humble. Talk your shit, keep doing what you're doing, and express yourself to the most colorful, livest way, just like a real Leo would. So I wanted to make this video. Thank you for your attention again. Leave your comments, and depending on how I feel and all these algorithms, I'll make more. Peace.